All right, the people want to know, do you need money to be in real estate? Do you need to have your own money to be able to invest in real estate? Let's get at it. All right, here are my thoughts. Now, this is probably one of the top questions historically people ask. I mean, it's the big objection, right? Hey, why aren't you investing in real estate? Hey, Courtney, I don't actually have a lot of money, right? So I want to talk about a few things, okay? So in theory, a lot of you know, if you've been around here for more than a minute, that the main way that I buy real estate is with creative financing, where I'm using non-traditional methods. Some of you guys heard me the other day break down my very first deal. It included a level of a non-traditional means to money, but then after that, I did get a home equity line of credit. Really, that home equity line of credit was the only traditional form of financing I've ever used in my career. I used that on deals 2, 3, and 4. But after that, I did a few hundred deals, all with, again, the creative financing concepts. So I did that because that was my solution to the money question. I am a testament that you do not have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank to be in real estate. But I want to give you some thoughts that not everyone talks about because it's not sexy and it does not sell programs. The reality is, can you have I, I often have to separate these two. So, real estate investment businesses or real estate businesses, let me take that investment word out, real estate businesses, and then real estate investment portfolios. I like to separate those two. Real estate businesses are things like being a real estate agent, flipping, wholesaling, and developing, like stuff like that, right? Then you've got the real estate investment portfolio. That's things like rentals and stuff like that. Okay. You should first separate the two. I'm not really going to talk about businesses. Yes, uh, that is a proponent of this. Um, but let's just be real. Businesses take startup capital, and if you may be able to find your way into a deal, but to repeatedly do them does require capital. It does require money. So that's important. There are ways you can source other capital, but I'm not going to harp on the real estate business side. I want to focus on the real estate investment side. Hey, Courtney, I want to invest in real estate. I want to own real estate and keep it, right? Can I do that without having a lot of money in the bank? Let me give you a few thoughts here on this. And so by laying that foundation of groundwork there, that's what the context is going to be about. Here's the thing. If number one, if anyone ever says that they bought a deal with no money, this is what they mean. That they either structured a deal, even if they structured, let me say this, even if they structured a deal, you know, zero money down to the seller, there was no real estate agents involved, it was zero money down, there's going to be no repairs needed, whatever. The majority of the time, if it is no money out of pocket, what people have to understand is that there are closing costs. There should be, let me actually say it that way. There should be closing costs. You should be using a title company or an attorney to do the transaction. Even if there is no realtor involved, so therefore no commissions, there's no wholesaler and no wholesale fee. So if you're direct to seller and it is a zero money down deal, there are still going to be closing costs. In my area, that often ranges, two to $3,000 or $4,000, depending on the deal size and what's all going on. And so you're like, okay, so that's technically still some money out of pocket. Well, when people say that they have, no money, they had to bring no money to a deal, usually that means that there was a level that they use OPM, other people's money. So the most common scenario for me is I buy a property and those closing costs, maybe some repairs, maybe there's money to a seller, some commissions, a wholesale fee, you know, maybe I have to catch up a loan on a subject to, maybe I have to do a down payment, like whatever those costs look like, oftentimes, even if I'm doing creative financing, I will have private money that will join with it. Okay. And so then I am using other people's money, a private lender, an individual who wants to get a return on their money. And so they're actually providing the funds. So, for example, the last closing I had, I needed about 18 grand to come to the table, right? And so and that was going to be for the closing cost. I had to catch up some payments on the loan. There were some commissions involved, right? So those are some things involved, right? Again, I could have a private money lender lend that, and I can give them, a loan against the property, stuff along those lines. Now, in essence, if I did that, then I would have no money that I'm bringing to the table. So when people say no money, it does not mean that you can actually go out and do a deal with no money. It means none of your own money coming out of your pocket. It means it's coming from somewhere else. There are different loan products or different ways you can structure deals where some money can come back to you and therefore potentially cover the cost. Um, so just know that there's just no such thing as a free real estate deal that someone can just give you a free deal and there's no cost involved. Even if someone said, Courtney, I'm going to give you this for free and I'm just going to, unless they're paying for the cost to transfer it to you, right? Like there is cost involved. So that's an important part to notice. Again, when people say this, hey, I bought this deal with no money. Uh, again, there needs to be context. Was it none of your own money? Was it no money down, but you still had to bring money to actually get the transaction done? What does that mean? All right. So with that being said, I wanted to bring clarity to that because guess what? You know what's sexy on the internet? You know what sells, programs? It's saying, hey, I did this deal with no money, right? Because people are like, I can afford no money, right? But the reality is that you still, that money's got to be sourced from somewhere. So that means there is a skill set tied to getting a deal like that. All right. On the second hand, I do creative deals. Maybe you're saying, Courtney, wait, you just bought a deal. You only needed 18,000. 18,000 doesn't sound bad, right? Well, great. A lot of that comes with, as I mentioned, hey, it is a skill set to be able to structure these deals. And so part of that is if you want to get into deals where you're not having, for example, to save money to buy some of the cash, don't recommend it. I do recommend leverage. That really helps the growth curve. Um, the running joke that my mentor who's 77, he said, if when I got started, which he got started right out of high school, he said if I wanted to buy my first property all cash, I would still be saving at 77, right? So there's a level there that if you're like, hey, the money part's hard, I've had a hard time saving up. First of all, the current deals you do are a direct reflection of your current mindset, so what you believe is possible. The other part of that is a direct reflection of your skill set, your current skill set. So it's the types of deals that you can find, it's the types of deals that you can structure, and it's the type of financing that you can structure or access. So that also means that the current deals you are not doing are a direct reflection of your current mindset and skill set. So at any given point, know this that you should be working often on your mindset and your skill set to improve your deal making. Okay. I myself jumped on an hour and a half phone call today to help improve my deal making, right? I'm trying to always level up my deal making so I can be doing better deals. Now, I digress. Let me pull back here. If you're wanting to do these, types of deals where you're not using your own money, for example, Courtney, it sounds great that people want to lend you money. How do I do that? I want to encourage you. You need to take if you're like, hey, I want to start having to where everyday people can lend me money, then you need to go on a very focused mission of learning about that, right? Go study about it, read books about it, listen to trainings on it, attend seminars on it. Literally, that is one of those things that like if you say, hey, that is something I want to improve on, well then focus on it and go learn more, put in the repetition, put in the practice, focus on it, go improve yourself on it, right? And then take that information and turn it into instruction. How do I put it into action? For example, don't just learn that it's possible to have everyday individual people lend money to you. Then say, hey, how do I have those, learn how to have those conversations with them. Learn who might be the right fit to have that conversation with. Hey, well, if you have someone who's willing, they've said yes, they have the money, well, then you need to know, what do you do next? That is when you take information and turn it into a skill set by converting it to an instruction level that you can just take action on, right? Same thing with creative financing, right? Being a lot of times when I get into deals, I don't need a ton of money up front, because I structured a deal where I'm either making payments to the seller, or I'm taking over making payments on their loan, or what have you. The reality here is, then you need to learn how to structure those types of deals. So again, I would encourage you, assess your skill sets, and go from there. Maybe say, Courtney, all that sounds really complicated. I'm just wanting to get into real estate in general. Again, whatever your funding source is, whether it is other people's money, like actual people, individuals funding your deals, whether it's lenders and there's still a down payment. So the most conventional method, let's just say 20% down. Well, then you're going to, at 20% down, then you need to look at what that's going to be. The deal that I just bought, I don't, 20% down is it would be 56 on that deal, but I only had 56 plus the cost, right? Instead, I only had to do 18, right? Because I found a better funding source, right? So again, improve your funding sources, and that can improve basically the capital outlay that you're going to have to bring in there. So if you're lacking on, my point with all this is, if you're lacking on the money side, make up for it with the hustle and information side, right? Lastly, yes, it is possible for you to go and learn how to get into real estate with little to no money down, right? You can learn how to structure deals, you can learn how to raise money, all that. Let me be very clear. It is hard to stay in real estate with little to no money down. So that is something I think is very, very, very important. Maybe you said, Courtney, I feel like I've heard you say this before. It's because I feel like it's not being said enough that I am revisiting this topic and isolating it as the topic for today. Because guys, I can tell you right now, right now, we're in a changing market. You want to know who the investors that are struggling to remain investors, meaning remain owning properties. One of the most common factors is, one, the type of deal they set up front did not have great financing. So that matters, right? It's not just, oh, that I now own it, but it's, how do you own it? Do you own it with, a 12-month loan that's high interest, right? So you want safe and feasible financing. You want something where that financing is ideal, okay? So acquisition is not enough. You then need to have a plan for the money to then keep it. Right now, on any given time, um, I'll have a handful of properties that are giving me headaches. A tenant moved out, tenant's not paying, there's repairs, there's whatever, right? Or it's taking longer to sell, it's taking longer to rent, whatever those situations may be. That costs money. Okay. Right now in this changing market, it is more than just, one or two properties. I have more than that are giving me some headaches. But guess what? How am I staying in this business? It is by having cash in the bank or access to that cash. And so it's critical for you to always be assessing, not just how do I need to find the money to buy my next deal, but then what am I going to do money wise to keep this deal? So those are the things like reserves, right? For whenever there's vacancies or repairs, right? And in a challenging market, you may put more stress on your reserves. So what does that look like? Well, for me, I'm looking at my properties, and although it's not a great time to sell, I'm saying, which ones should I sell? I'm looking at which ones are um, the bad performers that have equity. Hey, let's go ahead and sell them even at a discount, and that cash can then be cash in the bank that can help weather the storm. That cash can help, for example, with repairs or to replenish my reserves or whatever that may be. So Know that, yes, you absolutely can get into real estate with no money of your own. Now, to stay in real estate, you've got to have a plan for that. You've got to have a plan for that. A lot of people, even if you get into a deal with the most creative deal, someone lends the money to, acquire the property, you can get into a deal with no money out of your pocket. The question is, how are you going to stay in that deal with none of your own money? The last thing I want to say here today is understand owning investments should be something that you do from a financially stable place. It is really hard. Now, this is not something that is welcomed a lot. Again, it's not sexy and it doesn't sell classes. But I have a belief that if you think about investments, investments should be done. If you are like, hey, I'm wanting to invest, investing should be done, generally speaking, from a financially stable place. It is risky to be out there investing if you're not financially stable. And so I will say that if you are, for example, if your own house is not in order, for example, if you're struggling to pay your own bills, real estate is going, especially the investment portfolio side, is going to be very difficult to dig you out of that because they have their own demands, right? If a tenant's not paying, you've got the, mortgage payment to pay, you've got, repairs and things like that. So please don't look at real estate as a source to solve your financial instability in general, right? Like investments are demanding, especially in the real estate side, they're demanding. But in order for them to benefit you, there is a level that you do need to have a plan. So whether that's reserves, whatever that may look like. People who fail to have a plan on the side will often, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And therefore, what does that look like? It could mean that you could lose owning the property, again, due to not making the payments in foreclosure, or, eventually just gets into such disrepair that you can't catch up. You can't catch up to the deferred maintenance. With that being said, you guys, those are my thoughts. I'm not saying you have to have 100,000 in the bank. I'm not even saying you have to have a certain number. I'm just saying what you want to be mindful of, especially with rentals, especially, it's very different if you're going in there and wholesaling a deal because you're in and out of the deal and it's quick cash, right? That's very different than what I'm talking about with investments. When it comes to long-term investments, right? You owning something, you want to make sure that you're not doing it from a place where it's like you're unstable, right? Like, Courtney, I don't know where my next dollar is coming from. Well, please don't put someone in a house and tell them that you're going to keep the roof over their head safe if you don't know where the money would come from if that roof were to have a leak, right? Or if you're like, I don't know, we're going to make next month's payment if you don't pay, right? Like there's a level there. Be very careful. The rhetoric around you can get into real estate with no money down or low to no money can be damaging because it can almost set a precedent that you can own real estate with no money and survive. The question is, will you survive with no money? So those are my thoughts today. Again, wildly unpopular because it doesn't sell courses and it's not sexy on the internet. But I'm a firm believer, yes, with the proper skill sets, you can get into real estate without using your own money, without having hundreds of thousands or even, tens of thousands of cash in the bank. But the question is, can you survive without it? You need to have a plan, my friends. Please, that is something I emphasize a lot, is the concept of having a plan where it's not just a plan for acquisition, it's also a plan for management. And guys, I want to see you not only survive, but thrive in real estate. And so if this is something, guys, that whether it's a new topic to you, a new concept to you, a new twist on the concept to you, my hope is that I encourage you to assess your situation, right? Because I want to encourage you to be, to have your house in order so that you can properly build wealth. With that being said, guys, I'm doing one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. And hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to let me know your thoughts below in the comments. I always appreciate when you guys share. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for tomorrow's video. Appreciate you.